Hello, and welcome to another episode of
Paramedics for you too.
I'm Zach, and this is
Stacy.
and we are both Tennessee State paramedics, nationally registered paramedics.
It's right back here in Tennessee.
Tennessee, look at it's beautiful. It's outside, it's not hot at all. But today we're going to be talking to you about EMT-B, which is EMT Basic, which is the base of most ambulance service
Spit it
certifications. I know, right? I've never worked on an ambulance before. Who do I work with?
What's that thing again?
What is
It's
that?
a box.
Haven't been that for years. But we're going to be talking to you about the basics of EMT. Also with this video, please keep in mind, just like all the other videos, this is not state specific. This is going to be covering national registry, which is the national requirements. Your own state requirements may be slightly different. States, this is where we kind of start getting into some gray area because different states have different ideas of what constitutes an EMT, and then advanced EMT, and then paramedic. So, but with no further ado, we're going to start talking to you about what an EMTB is per national registry.
So a basic, as we call them, for short, EMTBs, emergency medical technician hyphen basic. They care in pre-hospital settings. They're probably the lowest that you'll find on a 911 service. You'll find them a lot in like intertransport services, BLS services, which all this might be Hebrew to you, but it's hard to do these videos. That's why we're doing these videos, because it might be Hebrew to you.
Unless you speak Hebrew, then you would understand it, apparently.
Yes. So they're used, like I said, in inter-facility transports, non-emergency settings. They drive the ambulance. That's the difference. Well, in an EMR will drive an ambulance in a pinch, but not hired on with the service. Many of them work in ERs. They do things like ER techs, which we got some local ones we won't name because then we'll get specific about where we work, but they're great. They know who they are. We love you. Zooming around in the green scrubs. So anyways, we have the education, of course. You have prerequisites you have to do to get to that point, so I'm going to let Zach tell you, and guess what? I bet it has something to do with the NREMT.
It does have something to do with the NREMT, and pretty much everything that was in that EMR video, which I will be linking above for you, is also pretty much the same things for EMT. You have to complete a course that meets or exceeds the standards of the NREMT. You also have to have a current CPR card, BLS for healthcare providers, healthcare provider card only, layperson card is not accepted, and then you'll have to complete the NREMT cognitive, knowledge-based, and psychometer skills-based tests for EMTB. And then after that, you get your license in the mail and you can start playing on an ambulance. And by playing, I mean basically having everybody look at you like you should know what you're doing and you're just kind of lost.
That's all the way through all the levels. That's why I laugh so hard.
This is all just growing as each video that we do on these, you know, EMR, EMTB, AEMT, and then paramedic. It's just kind of building on each other. So you keep your skills, your scope of practice and skills just keep growing.
Yep. And
then they just kind of reach the end of the road.
And then you die of old age and back problems.
Bad knees.
So in their scope of practice, all that was mentioned in the ER plus EMR plus some
in the ER.
In the ER, all that was mentioned in the EMR. This is why I call them first responders, just for the record. Plus some, as he just said, depth and breadth. We keep adding on. So,
sorry, I'm watching this bug just flew, and I was like.
Sorry, okay. So adding on to the EMR scope of practice is the nasal airway. We talked about the oral airway going down your throat. This one goes in your nose and back to the back of your throat.
Log in next week for me to put one in Stacy's nose.
And clean my boogers out. So you do things like that. Of course, you do the bagging, of course. Like I said, we're adding on. You assist in patient home meds. You can assist with them, which is a fancy way of saying, you say, here, Mima, here's your meds.
And for those of you not from Tennessee, because I know this will confuse some, Mima is grandma. Or Nana.
They could have figured that out.
I don't know. When I came here, it confused me. So I was like...
Mima. Or Mama.
Yeah,
or
totally
Mimi.
Different vernacular. Grandmother. She's referring to your grandmother.
In some appellation speak. So also you'll like I said, assist in meds. Then of course then it gets even fuzzier. Each state, I don't know if they're gonna realize it gets really fuzzy from state to state. There's EMR, then EMTB, then EMTIV, which is a B with an IV cert. Are you confused
In some
yet?
states, Tennessee doesn't have that anymore.
No,
but some states still have it.
Doesn't apply here, but it might apply there, over that way.
In your state.
Yeah.
Look up your state's EMS board and see what you were required to do.
So, anyways, with that said, I'll let Zach explain where an EMTB or a basic would be working.
So in most states, EMTBs, they will be working, like we already mentioned, ER technicians in the hospital, which is a skilled person in the ER that is allowed to assist doctors and nurses in what they're doing. That you'll find them in EMS, so pre-hospital care emergency medical services. Different states have different requirements for your 911 services. So I think in Tennessee you can't have more than 10% of your EMT employees be EMTB if you're running 911. They can't be on the ALS truck. But that's also changing rapidly too, so I don't know if that's even still a thing. You'll also find them on fire departments, volunteer and paid fire departments, and then you'll also find some police officers that are also licensed EMTs. They may do it on the side, or they may just have gotten it so they feel better prepared as a first responder in the emergency settings. Yeah. So, but most EMTBs you'll find working on an ambulance for a service that does IFTs, which is interfacility transports, so doctor's appointments, dialysis, things like that, and most of them are in school for their AEMT to go ahead and get on that 911 truck.
Yeah. So again, nremt.org is where you'll find all that out. A lot of basics don't stop at basics like you just alluded to. They very often go pretty much straight through to AEMT, which we'll do in the next video. It's another semester of school, depending on where you're at. Again, sometimes you can get it for an accelerated course somewhere else, but we'll go into that more later.
So until next time, keep it real.